Real Madrid suffering their first defeat of the season. Jurgen, so with Shaka, overall, they deserved to lose, didn't they, Madrid?
Absolutely. Real Madrid didn't offer an awful lot, in all honesty. I thought, well, Endrick, you saw what he's about and how he kind of continues to go about the game. I think if he just kind of slows down and think of who's around him a little bit more, he'd be far more effective. Other than that, Real Madrid didn't offer anything. They tried to get success by pressing Lille high up the park. Lille just kind of played over the top of that pressure. Zegrover on the right-hand side was always willing to run in behind. And so they never got caught out, Lille. I thought they coped with everything from Real Madrid. From Real Madrid's perspective, the lack of creativity from midfield was alarming. It's only when Luka Modric came on, and more to that point, only when Arda Güler came on and started to run by Luka Modric and try to get him behind the Lille defense, that Real Madrid looked like they were going to create anything. And I have to say this. Kylian Mbappe came on just about the hour mark and offered absolutely nothing. There was, at one point, this was probably been about the 85th minute, where he dropped deep to get on the ball, played an awful pass to nobody. Lille go on the counter-attack, and he just switches off. And it's Jude Bellingham, who's already on a yellow card, has to go chasing 10 yards past him to go and try and close the ball down. I just find that kind of lack of urgency from Real Madrid, even late on, a little bit alarming. And again, all game long, the lack of creativity that you saw throughout, lack of ideas from Real Madrid. Lille were fully deserving of the win.
We've seen this all season.
We've watched this all season. We watched it in the Madrid derby, although a big part of that was down to the way Atleti approached the game. But we've seen it in other games against weaker sides in La Liga. Ancelotti's getting... Even though, look, in this competition they'll be fine, right?
Yes.
They've got another six. I mean, I saw a league table earlier. Holy smokes!
Yes, there's a lot.
There's a lot of teams, and so they've got, so they're going to be fine, but they're just not playing particularly well at the moment. And it's little moments in games, it's little periods, or somebody does something, spectacular, and they win it. And also, I really don't think that they would have imagined they would have missed my favourite guy at the moment.
Yeah, I know. That's where we were going here, isn't it?
Toni Kroos.
Yeah.
Toni Kroos' retirement has left such a gaping hole in the middle of the park. They have legs, they have dynamic players in the middle of it, they have physical players. They're all good. They can pass it, they can run, they can score goals. I'm talking about Bellingham, Valverde, Tchouaméni, Camavinga. Luka Modric is 39. Nobody could pass the ball and control a hectic game from the pivot position like Toni Kroos. And that's a big part of it. It's a big part of switching play, getting yourself out of tight corners, just taking the sting out of the game and talking to people. And they haven't got that.
And that lack of cohesion is affecting the front players.
Right.
Because they're not getting the ball early and giving themselves more time on the ball. So by the time they get it, it's a lot easier to defend against it. So that cohesion that's not there, not only is it affecting the middle of the park, it's affecting the front players as well.
And I tell you that, as far as Real Madrid's kind of width, all their wide play came from both wing-backs overlapping. And then for Lille, which was great, they just kind of sat back and then just put the ball right where that wing-back come from, whichever side, and just ran in behind. So Real Madrid, as a result of being really narrow, up through the midfield into the forward line, whenever they tried to press, it was ineffective. Because they had to rely on wing-backs for width, there was this gaping hole that Lille just put it in there and just invited their strikers to run onto. So there is such a disconnect about this Real Madrid. To Craig's point, because Toni Kroos and because they don't have that creativity in midfield and having to rely on others, that even their pressing game is struggling. Defensively, it just doesn't look like what we'd expect of a European giant.
Jurgen, are you surprised that the absence of Toni Kroos has had this effect on Real Madrid?
No, I'm not surprised. I think it's just natural that it has an effect on this team because Toni Kroos has been amazing over so many years at that club and so dominating in the role he plays it. I think Shaka was right when he said, they're lacking urgency. They're lacking understanding, basically, that the moment and of Champions League. But when we talked about this new Champions League format, we know it's going to be 8 games before then they split up in the different categories again. And this was game number 2. And both Real Madrid and Bayern Munich came from games, respectively, the Madrid Derby and Bayern against Leverkusen, and playing now at Aston Villa, respectively, and Lille. And you saw as well, Bayern left Musiala on the bench. They are best player at the moment, and Real Madrid left Mbappe on the bench. And there you can see already also the mindset of the coaches saying, well, we'll take care of this Champions League first part with the 8 games, over the 8 games, and probably give it a bit more priority than to the domestic competitions, which we saw a crazy Madrid derby, obviously, on the weekend, highly aggressive. By far not the level of aggressiveness as they showed today against Lille. So there are many other topics to discuss, but definitely losing a player like Toni Kroos, you cannot just correct that within a couple of weeks. It will take time.